And welcome back to Hannity. A brand new Netflix documentary called Making a Murderer is causing quite a stir across the United States now that many of its viewers believe that the documentary's two subjects, convicted murderers Steve Avery and Brendan Dassey, are actually innocent. In fact, more than 100,000 people have now petitioned the White House to pardon the two convicted killers, but the White House has denied the petition, writing in part, quote, "The president cannot pardon a state criminal offense." Joining us now with reaction, the host of Justice with Judge Jeanine, who's doing a special on this, Judge Jeanine Pirro. I'm up to episode 8. There's, what, 10? So I got a couple to go. But I have a lot of problems with this. This guy, Avery, spent 18 years in jail, was exonerated for a rape he didn't commit.
Right.
Fact. Okay. Now, we've got this case of a murder. It looks horrible. He has a junkyard. The body is incinerated in the junkyard. Tell me the evidence in the case as you watched it that ties him to that murder.
It's called Motive Means an Opportunity. Number one, he was obsessed with her. She was afraid of him. He calls her...
Where did you get the obsession from?
Because she had been there 6 times, and that morning...
He owns a junkyard, so he sells a lot of cars.
Wait. He calls her at 8:20, and he tells them he wants the girl that's always there to come back and take a photograph. Then he calls her directly on his cell twice and hits *67 so she doesn't pick up the phone, or she doesn't know it's him, because he knows she's afraid of him. She's gone back to work, and she says she's creeped out by him because he answered the door in a towel, and she just doesn't like it.
In the documentary, they didn't identify that as this being the person that she was creeped out by. They did talk with the singular
but you know,
representative.
I'm glad you brought it up.
They should have, then.
I don't think it's a documentary. A documentary suggests that there are facts and that it's balanced. This is all about the angst of the defense, and it's horrible for anyone in the justice system to go through this. But what about the victim? What about her family, her
back
mother?
in '85, when they took a blood sample from Avery, okay? Right, so the evidence was sealed, but the box was broken into. It was still liquid, okay? And it looked like a syringe had been put in the top and blood was drawn and might have been planted in the car. That should concern you.
And I'll tell you why it doesn't.
Why?
Because anyone who's dealt with crime labs, as I have, knows that whenever you have a vial of blood in a felony case, there is a preservative called EDTA that's put in there.
And you had testimony, excuse me, you had testimony from the FBI that confirms your argument, but you had counter testimony that contradicted it and said you cannot necessarily find that.
In order for you to believe that this guy didn't do it, you would have to believe that the police in 2 counties, the judges, the DA...
No, 1 county.
And
the county that wasn't supposed to be there. How is it... Let me ask this.
You got to watch my special.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How come it took the police 7 trips to this guy's trailer to find the key to the woman's car that was sitting there in plain sight?
Let me ask you a question.
No, don't answer my question with a question.
Have you seen that bedroom?
Excuse me.
Have you seen that bedroom?
The key was sitting in plain sight.
No,
how did they miss it on 6 different occasions?
They said they shook the cabinet, came up. Look, here's the thing.
You don't buy that, do you?
No, I don't buy that.
So you think they planted the key?
Okay, but let's
Wait a
talk
minute,
about
if they planted the key, then why wouldn't they plant the blood?
Because who do you think wiped her DNA off that key? Who had a motive to take her DNA off
Maybe the cops that wanted to set him up.
No, only him. You don't wipe the victim's DNA off the key.
All right, let me ask you a question. When you watch with this 16-year-old kid in the documentary, okay, they use the term his IQ was low. Let me put it that way. He's a nice kid. He's sitting there like this.
How do you know he's a nice kid?
Okay, they're sitting there. He's sitting there like this, and the cops are bullying him without a lawyer, putting words in his mouth, that making him confess. Then when he goes and he signs, "I apologize," he said 5 times, "Did you do it?" No. The guy coerces him into draw this picture, draw that picture, draw this picture.
I'm going to save you some time.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So he should have been found not guilty.
I don't know if he should have been found not guilty, but I think that his lawyer
that guy
did a disservice.
An idiot.
All right, and for Avery to claim ineffective assistance of counsel when he had the best lawyers I've ever seen.
Those lawyers were great.
It's Brendan Dassey who needed
better lawyers.
He was slow. There's no question, Sean. I have problems
with that.
What
they did to him was cruel and unusual and over the line. No. And
let me tell you,
I'm sorry, that's not right.
What they did to the victim in this case is cruel and unusual.
Agreed, but I want the person that
shot and raped and tortured and stabbed and burned.
But you haven't given me the evidence that any one of these two did it.
I'm going to give it to you.
I'm waiting.
Number one, why is Stephen Avery's blood in the car?
Well, okay, why is the vial of blood have a hole in the top of it?
Listen to me. His blood is in the car because he cut his finger. Her body's in the car because until they figured out what they were going to do with it, they put her body in the car. Number two, how is his sweat DNA under the hood of her car? You cannot transfer sweat DNA. How is it that her blood is on the bullet fragment in the garage? That
the bullet fragment that was found on the fifth trip to the garage?
That garage? Somebody in the control room put up a picture of that garage. I couldn't find a house
Either way,
there.
all right, you can find out more. If you haven't been watching, it's really worth watching. It's very fascinating.
Great.
It's Sunday night, 8 p.m. Judge Jeanine Pirro is hosting a special on this very topic, and it's called Steve Avery, Guilty or Framed. That's tomorrow and Sunday night, 8 p.m. Coming up, we need your help.